more for you, you feel it. You know it. This is your life, and it's time to go from contender to champion. This is The Show with John Madsen.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, John Madsen. This is The Show. I have an incredible episode lined up for you today. You're not going to want to miss it. That's why you're here. We're going to dive right in. But first, I just want to remind you of my free 5-day coaching program. Go to athleticafchallenge.com and you will put in your email address and phone number and you will get 5 free days of coaching. The framework is around fitness, but what I'm really interested in is not weight loss. That shit is easy. If you need that, obviously take this free course, but I'm truly interested in helping people achieve a limitless life. That is what I'm about. And obviously, if you've been a listener to this show, it's mostly been about unlocking your truest potential and becoming limitless. I don't know how to describe it any other way. However, today I have this show lined up for you. 7 rules for an exceptional life. And I just want you to think about some of these things, because one of these rules might come out of left field and just punch you in the face or punch you in the stomach, or maybe you don't agree with one of these rules, but these are my rules for my exceptional life. You are going to have your own rules, but part of knowing who you are is starting to ask yourself the questions that's going to elicit some of this stuff. For me, understanding myself is the most important thing I can possibly do, because it makes me congruent in everything I do. If I know who I am, I know what I can achieve, and things seemingly feel effortless. Not that it's easy, but that I'm moving in a straight line and not all over the place. If you don't know who you are, that's when you struggle, right? I was fishing this past weekend. Beautiful, beautiful place in Yellowstone, and it's literally sub-0 degree temperature. I mean, at the time we were fly fishing, we'd wake up in the morning and it would be like -6, but by the time we're in the water, it was like 10 degrees. But this day was just crystal clear. We had to hike in, and there was snow all over the ground. It was just a beautiful scenery, although cold as hell. As I'm fishing, I look up, and all the guys I'm there with, we see a bald eagle just soaring above us, effortlessly flying, just fierce in the sky. If you've ever seen a majestic animal like an eagle, obviously sometimes I've seen them in the zoo, but in that moment, I'm watching this eagle just soar and fly effortlessly. It's not flapping its wings like a maniac trying to barely have air underneath it. Literally soaring like an eagle. And the point I'm trying to make here is an eagle doesn't have to prove it's an eagle. An eagle knows it's an eagle. So when you're true to yourself, you're true to you, magic starts happening when you're not trying to be anybody fucking else but you. Which leads us to these 7 rules for an exceptional life. Okay? I just wanted to share that story because it's powerful, something to think about. It's really, really important that you have this stuff figured out about yourself, and you understand what your mission is, and you understand what you stand for, and you understand what you stand against. Because in doing so, and in knowing yourself, you unleash your fullest potential. Okay, so without further ado, here is rule number 1. Have incredibly high standards. So there's a difference between goals and standards. A goal is something that you're trying to achieve. A standard is a level of achievement, and you won't tolerate anything less. There's repercussion around not living up to these standards. In the workplace, your standards might be set for you from an amazing leader. We do not tolerate anything less than this. If you do anything less than this, your ass is going to be out of here. We have high standards. In your own life, what are those standards? some of those standards for me is I'm always going to look a certain way. I will never, ever allow myself to look in the mirror and feel shameful about this body, my one body that I get for the rest of my life, to just look like shit. There are standards set in place. And if at some point I start falling below the standards because I know what those are, I know that I better get my shit together, right? So my standards are going to be different than your standards. There's financial standards, there's fitness standards, there's relationship standards. But if you don't know what your standards are, then you don't know what line you have to stay above. Okay? So just understand that the difference between goals and standards is that a goal is something you're trying to achieve, but a standard is something that you're never, ever, ever going to go below. So that's rule number 1. Incredibly high standards. And obviously you got to fucking hold yourself to them. Think about that. What are your standards? Rule number 2, marry an empire builder, not a comfort queen. Or a comfort king, for that matter. I got married over 5 years ago, and my wife listens to this show probably not very often, so she probably won't even know that I'm talking about her. But she is a strong, beautiful, powerful woman, and I've known it from the day I met her. In fact, we used to butt heads a lot because it was like alpha versus alpha. Not that she's very, very feminine, but she's very powerful. And there's a power struggle in the beginning because she wasn't just going to take my word and run with it if she had a different opinion. So at first, as you can imagine, there was power struggles. We had to learn how to communicate with each other and how to let each other know how each other felt at certain times. However, the one thing that my wife is not is a comfort queen. A comfort queen meaning, hey, John, this is our life. We're really grateful for it. And no matter what, I love you, but we don't need to push for greatness. She loves me, and I have no doubt that she loves me. She loves her family very, very much. But what she does is she reaches deep inside of me, and she believes in me sometimes even more than I believe in myself. Sometimes that's uncomfortable. But she's after growth as much as I'm after growth. And when you have two people in the same household, both relentlessly pursuing their best, it's going to do something that you never thought possible. It's going to push you to the highest of high possibilities without limitation when both of you are on that same path. So one of the best things that I've ever done for myself was marry this strong, beautiful, powerful, loving woman who's going to push me to be the very best version of myself, and she's not going to let me off the hook. She's an empire builder, not a comfort queen. Rule number 3, seek possibility instead of limitations. We've all heard this from the beginning of time. What you seek, you will find. I did a whole show about people arguing for their limitations, arguing for their sickness, arguing for their disabilities. Not that we're talking about, the less than however many percent that are truly, truly disabled, right? But people arguing against possibility through their own limitation. I can't do this because this. Literally giving you reasons and excuses and speaking them into fucking existence of why they can't achieve something, why they're different. If you seek limitation, you will find limitation. If you seek failure, you will find failure. If you seek possibility, you will find possibility. It is your own reality. Your reality is your reality, which is different than your spouse's reality, which is different than every person on this planet's reality. It's your model of the world. If your model is limited by your limitations, all you will find is limitation. If you want to be exceptional, you must seek possibility so you can find it. Rule number 4, find somebody to believe in you until you believe in yourself. This one is huge. I went on this podcast episode the other day where I talked about confidence, okay, and finding a mentor and finding a model. But here is where I learned this. I learned this in my own life through football. When I had the right coach, because I didn't know how to control my own mentality back then and create a championship mindset that would work with any coach, I had to have a very specific coach that could propel me. When I found this coach, and this coach created this belief in him, which ultimately created this belief in me, my progress soared. When I didn't have the right coach, my confidence was shattered. But here's what I knew. When I opened up my training facility in Salt Lake City, I knew that most of the kids that I was going to work with were coming to me and they didn't have the confidence necessary that was going to allow them to be elite in their sport. When the national average is less than 5% of high school athletes to ever go and play any level of college, I had literally hundreds of kids go through a freaking tiny little garage look-alike gym and earn scholarships all over the United States, all different sports. Most of these kids didn't believe in themselves when they entered the gym. All of these kids believed in themselves when they exited that gym. They needed somebody to believe in them before they could believe in themselves. And so do you. If you're struggling with fitness, if you're struggling with finance, if you're struggling to get that dream job, you need somebody to believe in you before you can believe in yourself sometimes. Seek out that mentor. The checks that you write to progress you forward are going to come right back to you. Whether that's fitness, whether that's business, whatever you need help with, the shortest route from A to B is learn from somebody who's actually fucking done it. Sounds simple, but you're too busy trying to save because you're in scarcity. I would much rather learn quickly, pay somebody, and then get that money fully times 10 as fast as humanly possible. You must seek somebody who believes in you first if you don't believe in yourself. Rule number 5, relentless repetition. Literally mastery. Nothing matters. You can't think this incredible life into existence and not put any action behind it. There's a saying that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at something. It might be more than that. The biggest misconception out there is that people are either talented or have ability or they don't. This is a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, which I'll go into detail in another podcast. You must understand and you must teach your children that it's not ability and talent. The ones who succeed because they work harder and longer and more repetitions and more practice. Yes, some people are more natural at certain things like drawing or maybe reading or a sport. And if they're more natural at it, chances are they like it, so they want to do it more. If you're not good at something, or you feel like you're not good at something, or somebody told you you're not good at something, you're probably going to avoid it. And if you do that when you're 5 years old, all of a sudden you're 15 years old and you've had somebody who's practiced drawing for 10 fucking years and you haven't picked up a pencil to draw because your parent told you weren't very good and you've held on to that belief, it's not the ability that held you back. It was the thought that you can never get better. It's a thought that you can never get better. So if you want to be good at something, anything, even if you're not good at it right now, I was bullshit at these podcasts in the beginning. If you're listening right now, you're like, fucking John is on fucking fire right now. How did he do that? Go listen to the first 10, 15, 20, 35 episodes. They're like, I can't even listen to them because I sound like an idiot. Maybe you think I sound like an idiot right now, but here's the truth. I'm going to keep doing this shit until I have done like 5,000 podcasts. And at some point, people are going to think I'm a genius at it. And it had nothing to do with anything else other than I just fucking started one day and I never stopped. Rule number 6, forgive. I don't care what somebody's done for you. And, you know, there's some terrible, terrible shit in the world that I can't even speak on that happens sometimes. But here's the thing. Most of us are walking around pissed off at people who never even tried to hurt us in the first place over little, tiny, minutia bullshit that is just wasting their fucking time. The first person you need to forgive is yourself, because at the time of whatever you did, you didn't know any better. You were doing the best that you could. Living in the past is literally chaining you so that you can't progress into the future you want. You can't forgive anybody if you don't forgive yourself. So you forgive yourself first, and then you forgive others for yourself if for no other reason. Because holding on to anger and resentment and jealousy and whatever other bullshit is literally holding you back. So if you want to progress forward, you get on the phone and you say you're sorry and you mean it to whoever you think hurt you, because chances are they think you hurt them. And then you're in this endless year-long, 10-year-long, 20-year-long battle with the people who love you most, and you're wasting your fucking time. So if you want to move forward and you want to live a life that's extraordinary, you can't hold on to the bullshit. You got to let that shit go. And it's impossible for you to let it go for another person if you can't let it go yourself. And then the last one, super big here. Appreciation over expectation. The fights you get in with your spouse, the fights you get in with your parents, the fights you get in with your kids, the fights you get in with your coach, the fights you get in with your coworkers, comes down to usually one thing. You're expecting them to do something or act some way that you want them to, but that's not their model. That's not their reality. That's your reality. So you're trying to put them in your box, and it doesn't work. The magic here is to appreciate people for who they are and what they are. You're going to vibe with some people. You're not going to vibe with other people. But what you have to do is stop expecting things from other people. Stop expecting the gifts. Stop expecting because you did something, you expect something in return. Give freely and appreciate the beautiful people in your life and watch your life change. Those are my 7 rules to an extraordinary life. You might have 7 different rules, but hopefully something I said today has resonated. That's my whole goal of this podcast. I want you to think about what you stand for. I want you to start knowing yourself, and I want you to think about these 7 rules. Have incredibly high standards. Marry an empire builder, not a comfort queen. Seek possibilities instead of limitations. Find somebody to believe in you until you believe in yourself. Relentless repetition for mastery. Forgive yourself first and forgive others. And number 7, appreciation over expectation. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing episode of The Show with John Madsen. The greatest compliment that you could give us is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all of your friends. So please go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and then share it online with everyone that you know. Make sure to tag John as well. He loves to hear from listeners of the show. The links for all of his socials and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage John for anything related to his coaching, consulting, or programs, please visit johnmadsen.com for everything you'd need to know on how to engage with John offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Show.